Today, we're going to talk about some helpful tips for first-time homebuyers. I'm Jason Pye, your Los Angeles contractor and developer, and today we are going to be going over our helpful tips for first-time homebuyers. Now, if you don't know much about me, you should know that I have been in the real estate development business for about 13 years now. I've built roughly about 250 custom homes. And I have gone through escrow that many times. That experience is new every single time. What's the uniqueness? What's the difficulty? What's the trouble we have to get over? Whatever it could be, every single time is somewhat unique. But taking that as it is, I hope I can impart some good advice to hopefully make the process just a little smoother for you. So here are my top tips for first-time homebuyers. Tip number one, and this is a tip that honestly you would think is super obvious, but the truth is first-time homebuyers don't know that they need this, which is why I really think it's important to stress how important it is. You need to get pre-approved for a mortgage. This is not so important when you really think about like your experience just looking at houses. You know, when you're a first-time home buyer, that experience really is like, oh, look, there's an open house sign. Let's go into the house and let's go look at a house and let's go see what this is. Let's go see what that is. And you ask about how many bedrooms, how many baths, what the price is, how many square feet is the property, is there a pool? You ask all these things and they're all really important to you, and you begin to learn what's important. And then you find your dream home and you really like it and you put the offer in, but you don't have a pre-approval. You're not going to get accepted. One, your agent probably can't write the offer without providing the pre-approval because most seller agents will ask for a pre-approval to kind of qualify you as a buyer. Okay. And two, if you don't have the pre-approval letter, when let's say you do get accepted and you don't have that letter, so now you need to go through the process of trying to get a mortgage, or maybe you're paying all cash. I mean, none of this matters. But let's say you're going to try to go through that process of getting a mortgage. You will have a contingency period that allows you some time to kind of get that pre-approval and to get the acceptance of, hey, we'll give you a loan. But what if you don't get it? What if your income is shy $20,000 and you are not approved for this loan that you can afford, but something on the taxes doesn't line up, or you're running into an issue somewhere? Just bought a new car and now your credit's a little bit bumped. Things you don't necessarily know you can control. But if you get a pre-approval up front, you're going to be much more prepared for what you can afford, and it gives you a clear path to what you're looking for, and it gives your agent a clear path to what they're searching for you. So this makes everyone's life just a lot easier throughout the whole entire process. And so many people are fearful of getting a pre-approval because they have to provide their taxes and go through a whole entire process. But I promise you, the experience is worth it because it's going to make everything else so much easier. So tip number one, and the most important in my opinion, get a pre-approval letter. Tip number two is find the right agent. I always say it's really important to find an agent that you can communicate well with, that you can get along with, that you can have genuine open conversations with. You're not trying to appease the conversation to fit anyone's guide of like what should be said, right? Like you're not trying to say the right things like you would on a date, you know? It's, can I speak comfortably with this person? Do they understand my wants and needs? Are they the right fit for my temperament? Am I, if I get upset, how do they respond? If I am not communicating well, do they ask for more information? Like all of these sort of things that kind of come into play. You really want to find someone who's going to be your teammate in this process and really be there to champion you. Um, Along with that, you really just want to make sure that they have good enough experience in what you're looking to buy. Like you don't really want a residential realtor to help you with a commercial purchase, because though they can and they have the license to, If they've never done a commercial purchase before, they have no idea what they're looking for, what they should be talking about, the things they should be looking out for. They're not your best person to be helping you with the process. They You might be willing to give them an opportunity, and maybe they'll give you, better percentage for their fee. But truthfully, you want someone who is prepared to go into this process fully vetted and has enough experience that they can not only help you find the right home, but help negotiate for better terms for you as well, and kind of be the strength within those negotiations that push you to where you're going to be happy at the end of it. So this is someone who's going to guide you through the whole entire process, and I guarantee you, finding just the right fit is such an important aspect to this whole thing. And don't overlook it. Don't just like pick the guy who has the billboards all over town. He's not necessarily going to be the best fit for you. You really want to take the time, interview a few people, or ask for references from people that have had good experiences with people that you know, because that's going to be the best route, I promise you. If you are local to Los Angeles and you are looking for a referral, I'm more than happy to give out referrals to some of the real estate agents I have great connections with and see if they'd be the right fit for you. Tip number 3 is to do a home inspection. Now, I've done a few videos about home inspections. Um, I'm probably the only builder out there who is a champion for home inspectors. I think they are the best thing that can be done in a transaction. It's so important that when you buy a home, you do an inspection. Uh, the homeowner has no idea what's wrong with the house, and if they do, the likelihood is you're not getting a conversation with them for them to tell you. Maybe after closing they're going to come through and go, hey, by the way, this faucet doesn't turn on, right? But they're not getting the opportunity to have a full-fledged conversation with you to tell you what's wrong with the house. And this is an opportunity for you to really go through the home and check everything that could possibly be going on with the home and really understand what you're about to buy. I want to say this with as much respect as possible: hire a professional. Do not ask your uncle who's a contractor, your dad who's bought 3 houses on throughout his life. Don't ask people who just kind of know things. You want to ask a professional who's going to come in there and really review the house in full detail. I mean, I've seen repair lists come back with things I never would have expected to see on a repair list. Like just the screen has a little tear in it, 2.5 feet above the kitchen window on the left hand side. There's a scratch on the screen. It's like, wow, you know, not a problem. Order a new screen, get it installed, continue with the process. But it's such an important piece to the whole entire situation, and especially when you are a new home buyer, you don't realize that you're going to be walking into a money pit, regardless of whether it's new construction or recently remodeled or an old home. Every single home that you buy, nobody is prepared for the problems. Even in new construction, there that first year, things happen. Things are unexpected. You don't necessarily know what's been tried and tested. So things do happen, and you have to be prepared to know what you're up for. So even though those inspections may come back a little cleaner than an old home, doesn't matter. Be prepared for it as best as possible. And I recommend this for everybody. Tip number 4 for new home buyers is there are other fees associated to buying a house. It's not just the price that you pay for the home. There are other fees included. The best thing that I can tell you is be prepared to spend money. If you are buying a $2 million home and all you've got to your name is your deposit, don't do it. Negotiate down to 1.990. It's really important that you have a little bit more money ready to spend, because there are other closing costs that are factored into the home. You have appraisal fees, inspection fees, title insurance, and escrow fees as well, that all will come to the table. And depending on the purchase price, it could all add up. So there are just factors associated to that. Also, just maintenance of the home too, like gardening and pool service. Those things come up, and if you're not ready to spend that, be ready to. because it's going to come, unless you're planning on doing it yourself, which some people do. I don't see it that often in Los Angeles, but it is totally an option. Tip number 5 is not to rush. A lot of people get so consumed by the adrenaline of buying a home. They get so excited about, they accepted our offer. This is the right house. This is our dream home. This is the one where we're going to raise our family in and do all these special things. We get so emotionally connected to things so quickly. We really forget to remove our foot from the pedal for a second. Home buying is a big decision. So don't feel like you have to make a decision right away. Take time. You don't want to feel pressure to accept an offer. Usually offers have a 3-day window, unless they're written on there what other timeline might be. Like you might see like there's a deadline of 5 p.m. But overall, there's usually, I think the standard time frame is 3 days. So you usually have 3 days to respond, 3 days to get back. Not everything needs to be just immediate. Oh, I received something, I need to respond right away. If you're in a really intense negotiation, you might have to, and prepare yourself for that. But at the same time, this is not something where if you make the decision tomorrow, you've completely lost all ability to get the home. Unless you're in multiple offers, right? Like if they've sent out a counter to you and 3 other people, and the fastest one to the table with the best terms and price is the one who's going to win the house. If you're the only one that they're negotiating with, you really don't need to rush. You can really sit, mull over the situation, and really make a decision from there. It's important to visit multiple houses, compare a lot of prices, compare those details, ask for as much information as possible from your realtor, and of course, make sure at the end of the day that the location is the right fit for you at that time. I always say you can change the house, but you can't change the location. If you always felt like you didn't want to be near an alleyway, and that house is near an alleyway, but everything else works, really consider making that decision first before you buy it, because you can't move the house. The house might be the best house that you've ever found and for the right price, but if it's where you never wanted to live, why are you going to live there? If it's near, a city wash, and you don't want to smell that every single day, why are you buying that house? It might be the right financial decision, but it may not be the long-term decision for you that you want to make. So really consider it. Don't rush into it. My last tip for the day is tip number 6, and that is consider the resale value. We can go into this with a lot more detail, but I'll try to keep this pretty short and sweet. Though most of us buy homes for a considerable stretch of time, considering that we'll be there for the next 5 to 10 years. Sometimes we're just looking to buy one for 30. But overall, we usually have a pretty significant amount of time that we plan on being there. But keeping in mind of that exit value and keeping in mind of where that house will appraise in that time frame is also really important. Are you buying in a bad neighborhood for a great price, and then in 5, 10 years from now, your equity's only increased 10%, where you could have spent a little bit more money in a better neighborhood and had a 20% increase? So consider these things pretty carefully. There's a lot of things to consider when you're thinking about that location and your resale. Um, Factors that would include the lot size, the property, home and layout, the school district, all of those sort of things, and especially the kind of neighborhood that you're in. Is it gated? Is it private? Is there a park? Uh, Other factors that you can't necessarily pinpoint, but that make it just a better neighborhood. Think about those things and really make sure that you're making the best financial decision as well, because this is a big decision you're about to make. I'm proud of you for doing it. Of course, if you have any questions or need more advice, please let me know down in the comments below and I will get back to you. Of course, if this video was of any help, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like this video. It's going to help a lot more people just like you. I'll see you on the next video.